Welcome to the Aussie Game podcast, where we talk all things Australian football. Could we be watching one of the most meteoric rises ever in Australian football? December 2024 A-League debut, February 2026 MLS debut, March 2026 Socceroos debut, June 2026 World Cup debut, August 2026 Premier League debut, Mopper? Lucas Herrington is reportedly close to signing with newly promoted Hull City for an astronomical $35 million Australian. How are Brisbane Roar feeling after cashing out their sell-on clause? Elsewhere, several other Socceroos have found new homes, including our Gloveman. There are Aussies galore in Scotland. Auckland FC announced a new coach, and the Australia Cup round of 16 throws up some fascinating clashes. What about the transfer activity this week, Mopper? Australians and Socceroos just going absolutely everywhere.
Oh, and good moves too, you must say. Like, I'm very happy, even though some of the fringe Socceroos have popped down a level or gone across to another league. I think they're all good clubs, which we'll discuss tonight. But you said it in the headlines, my friend. You just can't go past Lucas Herrington. Isn't it extraordinary? When we spoke first on one of our first ever podcasts, we're reviewing the under-20 team that was going over to the Asia Cup. His name was in there. He was only 16 at the time. And little did we know what impact that under-20 side would have. They lifted the Asia Cup, not just lifting it, but I thought they did it in such style. And we've seen names like Esposito and Kikianis that were leading that central defensive line. And you're getting a little bit of snippets of Herrington coming off the bench and playing a role in that one as well. And then obviously he did go to the World Cup, where he didn't start those first two games, but again had an impact, and then started against Cuba. And we started seeing this unearthing of this defender that just turned into a star. And I just can't believe, going back to those days, we've seen a lot of those under-20s starting to shine and all that potential. And Harrington's just gone to the top of the pile. And it's just great to see what you can really do, because, you know, he's been from Asia Cup, World Cup to another, like you said, Socceroos debut, another World Cup. He's had it all, hasn't he? And the experiences that he's learned over the past couple of years has been extraordinary. A lot of gratitude must go to his coaches and his development and giving him the opportunity, because that's what's happened, isn't it? He's played at this level, he's taken his opportunity, and he's just kept growing and growing and growing. And this could be the start of a great journey, and I can't wait to break down potentially his move to Hull. Not sealed yet, but very close. I've had a little bit of a deep dive into Hull to see where it might fit, because they've had a serious injury to one of their key defenders, so it might just fit well for Herrington and that debut that you spoke about.
Well, let me just recall some of those dates. Let me just go for 2026. February MLS debut, obviously transferred across from Brisbane Roar in January. And then March 2026, called into the Socceroos squad, makes his debut. June 2026, where before that time he was considered a bolter for the Socceroos World Cup squad. And then he had to be in there by a lot of people's calculations. And he obviously did get in that squad. As you said, missed the first couple of games, that played the last two for the Socceroos. And then, potentially August 2026, when Hull kick off their Premier League season, he may just be in that mix, making his Premier League debut. But you mentioned before some of his moves, and I think this is key with Hull City, because he's made smart moves since he's left Brisbane. You know, he could have probably gone overseas as a youngster, but he's made that kind of stepping stone step to go to the MLS. And some people question whether that was the right step, but he's gone. He's played every single week. He's just featured in the MLS All-Stars team as well, alongside some absolute superstars. So he's getting the game time, and then he's getting the attention. And I think Hull City is a good move as opposed to some of those bigger clubs, because my theory is that if Hull go and he plays there in the Premier League this season, they might even get relegated, but they'll be looking at that. And if you're going to establish yourself in the Premier League at a lower level club, then those big teams are going to come in, because they know you can do it at that level.
Yeah, I think you've seen a little switch in the Premier League, haven't you? a lot of clubs are now making sure they have ready-made Premier League players or players that have played in the Premier League. And you've seen that switch over the last couple of years. A lot of moves have gone south for a couple of big clubs spending a lot of big money, and they want that reassurance that they can handle it because it's very physical, very tough league, as we know. And all the door, as you've seen with the fans out this week for the Winter Festival. So, look, you're not wrong about the moves making. Even that 6 month stint where he stayed with Brisbane before rushing over to America, it wasn't rushed, was it? That 6 months further development where he started every week for Brisbane and contributed and had a great impact was really key to that next development, wasn't it? And it just every move that he's made has turned to gold. And I think this next move is 100% right. Hull City's was a they had out of the top six in the championship last year, had the worst defence out of all of them. They conceded 66 goals. So, like I said, they've got a key injury at the moment to one of their star central defenders, and we could see that that debut if it materialises this one with Charlie Hughes out 22. He had a double hernia in the pre-season, and they're hanging for him to get back. And there's not much depth. There's a couple of young kids over there as well, but they were out on loan last year, so it could be very interesting. If you look at the players Hull's got, John Egan, who's 33, he's a stalwart for Hull City, but again, 33, turning 34 this year. And Semi Ajay only played 24 games last year for Hull. So they did play back three in the playoff system, but in pre-season they've been trialing the back four, which they went in and out of last year in the championship. So whether it's a back three or a back four, I'm pretty sure Lucas Herrington, if this deal succeeds, will get plenty of game time, especially like I said with that early injury to Hull's central defender. And I tell you what, underneath with Ashby and DeBayo, they're young and they've been put out on loan. So I think Harrington's got a great pitch to be right in there straight from the start.
I just listened to a quick interview before we started, mate, from the Hull City owner, and he was basically very confident about this deal getting done. He was saying very close, and 1 week was the timeline that he gave. So, yeah, very exciting for Australian football fans to keep an eye on this one. Could we see the meteoric rise, as I said in the opener, of Lucas Harrington? He's played 49 games at club level as a senior player. Can you believe that? And he's potentially going to go. He'll probably tick over 50 with Colorado, maybe. But can you imagine his 50th game as a professional footballer being in the Premier League? It's an incredible rise for an Australian player, and we don't see it very often. And probably we're seeing a few of them happen now, but we don't see it very often. Players come from Australia and establish themselves in top 5 leagues very quickly, do we?
No, it's a rare commodity, and that I think this is Tony Popovich is going to be credited for the giving that opportunity at the World Cup because there was talk about his potential, but he threw him in there against Paraguay, didn't he? He put him in there, and it just rocketed from there. Once you get start in that position at the World Cup and against Egypt, it just rocketed to another level, and that's where all the big scouts are. That's where all the big teams are looking. It's a very big market, the World Cup, and with Popper's confidence, and it's the same with Ocon, wasn't it? The confidence and with Patrick Beach as well, because of that decision that he made for the benefit, I think, of not only the Socceroos long term, but it's also assisted their future, hasn't it, and their next moves.
Yeah, 100%, mate. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on this one for Lucas Harrington. If the whole city is true to what he's been saying, we might see this move get done in the next couple of days, and how exciting that would be for the Socceroos and Australian football fans to have another player in the Premier League. It's been quite some time, and as you said, there's the real potential that he's going to get significant game time at such a tender young age of 19. Speaking on the other end of the career spectrum, Matty Ryan, he's re-signed with Levante. We spoke about him last week, mate. We didn't think that one was going to happen. We thought he might be moving back to Belgium or some other league, but Levante it is again. And probably something that I saw someone mention before is that continuity in his career and hasn't really happened for Matty Ryan the last probably 5 or 6 seasons. He's jumped around a fair bit, so to have consecutive seasons at Levante is probably a good thing.
Yeah, it's strange why it took so long, isn't it? That whether Levante were looking for the next step or the next future, and they couldn't find it in the market, and Matt Ryan was like, obviously, there might have been negotiations took longer or were on pause at the World Cup. But yeah, I was surprised that I thought with him, his contract expiring, that Levante wasn't really interested in that extension. But I think if you look at his performances last year, they were extraordinary, especially in the back half. I would almost say single-handedly that he kept Levante up in a couple of those crucial games at the back end, and he played a pivotal part in that run in and pretty much all year. So I think it's a smart move for Levante. Obviously, they've stabilised now after surviving last year to keep him. It makes perfect sense, and it makes perfect sense for Ryan as well to play at La Liga. He's seen his number one position obviously come under threat, and it came true in the World Cup, and now he's got to bounce back from that. So what better way to continue in La Liga in a high league to push your claims for Asia Cup and maybe a swan song for the Socceroos?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Not too bad at all to have two of our Socceroos keepers playing in top five leagues around the world. It's yeah, as I said, it's a credit to what's happening in Australian football and some of the players that we're developing that we are reaching some of these heights at the moment, which is really amazing. Another keeper that's on the move is Joe Gauci. He's gone on loan from Aston Villa to Lincoln City for the rest of this season. What do you make of this one? Obviously, he was at Port Vale last season in League One and Lincoln City playing in the Championship. So a level up for Joe Gauci. It's the highest level he would have played at consistently. He got a couple of games for Aston Villa, but a very important season for Joe Gauci, you'd say, having missed out on that World Cup squad.
Yeah, another great move. Lincoln City won League One last year. They're coming up to the Championship. They're going to need strength and they're going to need quality. They only conceded 41 goals last year, so obviously looking for that next marker, aren't they? And they're going to give themselves every opportunity. I think Joe Gauci's going to get huge amount of games in the Championship, and I think he needs that step up from League One. League One was way below his level, and I think in the Championship you're going to come up against some really good quality, and I just hope he cements that spot early, and keeps Lincoln in that Championship space. He definitely needs 12 months in a quality competition, and I believe the Championship's probably the right move for him in his career right now, as he waits and sees what happens at Villa. I think in the next 12 months, with Martinez obviously looking to go elsewhere.
Yeah, I think it's a good move for Gauci. Obviously, Port Vale did get relegated down to League Two in any case, but as I said, the step up from League One into the Championship and a much better situation than being the second or third keeper at Aston Villa as well. He's probably about 26 now, Gauci, and he just needs to play. I know keepers go on for a bit, but he needs to play, and that missing out on that World Cup squad would have stung for him for sure. So yeah, he's definitely going to have a look this season, and hopefully he can have a great campaign with Lincoln City. Hopefully they can stay in the Championship and he can be a big part of that campaign. Speaking of keepers, while we go on that train of thought, mate, Paul Izzo, some things going on at Randers.
Yeah, look, the club left him out in the opening round, obviously at Randers, and obviously the decision's been made. He's looking himself, he's stated that he's looking to move elsewhere. They did state that there was no concrete offers though, but he has been left out of the squad and is pursuing a move. Look, there's no concrete at this stage, but that can change very quickly in a market that moves rapidly. But it's a big risk, I think, for Paul Izzo, especially with Gauci now at Lincoln. Troy's obviously with Patrick Beach, and Levante re-signing obviously Matt Ryan. So Izzo looking to get out of Randers where he was number one. A bit of a situation where he's obviously gone, I've got to move, considering he was the number one goalkeeper. So look, he's still had a year left on his contract, but he's put it out there. He obviously wants to play somewhere and he's got an idea where he wants to play, but nothing resolved yet. But watch this space in the next couple of weeks.
I suppose like between Izzo and Joe Gauci, they're the third choice keepers they're fighting it out for the third choice keeper spot in the Socceroos squad based on Beach's performances and what we know Matty Ryan can do. So with Gauci making his move, be fascinating to see what Paul Izzo does. As you said, he was pretty consistent with Randers after getting that move from Melbourne Victory, where he had an outstanding season before he went over to Denmark. But yeah, certainly will be looking to establish himself somewhere, and a high quality league, no doubt. Ashley Brewer, also another goalkeeper further down the pecking order for the Socceroos, but he has also made a move from Dundee United to Sheffield Wednesday. Only landed at Dundee United last season, I think in January, but he's up and moving to Sheffield Wednesday, down to League One, and look, based on our plethora of options for other keepers, I don't think Ashley Brewer will be in the reckoning anytime soon.
Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday had a horror, didn't they, last year? And I think this is a good starting point just to play football and then worry about the rest later. He's still got plenty of years left in him. But I like this move. I think it's a good decision. And it's probably what he needs to do. He's on the books for Charlton for a while and just wasn't happening.
Yeah,
And
wasn't getting a run
yeah,
there for a long time.
no,
Yeah.
no. So I think this is a good step. We've seen a few Aussies go down this path and it's worked. So I think it's a very smart move. And I think it'd be good for him this year.
All right, I know this one interests you a lot, mate. Daniel Bennie over to Dundee United with all the other Aussies and Kiwis.
Yes, it's like the Anzac United, isn't it? That Daniel
Yeah.
Bennie. What I think again, smart move. He was on the cusp of QPR. He did get a couple of starts and a few off the bench, but probably not enough now at his age. I think this is a very smart move. Scotland heritage too. Don't forget, this is where his heritage lies, and potentially could play for Scotland one day, and has had an open mind to that, even though he's represented Australia at junior level and was our top goal scorer at that World Cup we spoke about with Herrington. So, look, I've got big raps on Daniel Bennie, and I think he come off the bench the other day, but watch out, he will start. Interesting, though, where he will start. He can play that right midfielder, second striker, but he's been deployed in right back for the under-20s as well. I really would have hoped that Popper would have snuck him into that 26 because we desperately needed that right wing back coverage at the end of that tournament, but he just missed out. So this is a big year for Daniel Bennie, and I think we need to sew him up with the Socceroos. Otherwise, Scotland's going to come very fast because this boy has got talent and was one of the top under 20 players that we had at that Asian World Cup.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating where he might play as well, because traditionally Dundee United play a 4-3-3, and we know the other Aussies that are there in the game against Rangers, which we'll speak about a bit later. But he did replace Lockie Rose in the 70th minute, and it was Lockie Rose leading the line, with Jesse Randall playing on the right and Zach Sapsford playing on the left. So you'd think that Daniel Bennie would be in that kind of mix of a front three, but it's, yeah, whether he can usurp one of those spots from one of those other Aussies. But healthy competition, no doubt. But I think, obviously moving from QPR, the intent is really going to be game time for Daniel Bennie, so that QPR can make a decision on whether he's part of their plans, depending on which league they're in the following season, or whether they potentially look to release him or sell him on. Not sure of his exact contract situation, but they will be disappointed if he goes there and he doesn't play a lot. And hopefully it's not because of one of the other Aussies, but just with the system they play, you'd think it'd have to be one of those front three. I don't know whether he would suit one of those kind of wider midfield. I assume they play pretty narrow in the midfield if there's only three anyway.
Yeah, look, the beauty for Daniel is versatile. And again, Scottish Premier League is going to offer a lot of cup football as well. Unfortunately, they're not in Europe. And look, I think a person of his quality will no doubt get a starting berth somewhere along here. It'd be interesting, like you said, how he's deployed. But I think the best thing is for him that he's going to get consistent minutes, and that's got to be his aim. And the rest will look after itself after that. This boy's a talent. Interesting going to Dundee United, but I think like all the boys that have made these moves, they're only thinking of one thing, and that's starting. And I think that's a good positive move, and they're finding clubs that they can start with. And I think that's the difference in the mindset after the last 12 months.
Yep, we'll wait with anticipation to see exactly what happens with Daniel Bennie and how much time he gets at Dundee United. The last of the transfers we've got to go through, Sammy Silvera signs for MK Dons in League One. Interesting his situation. He did get some minutes at the start with Middlesbrough last season, but with their change of manager, he got moved around and didn't really get a lot of game time after that. He did have a few injuries as well, but potentially the same as Maynard Brewer. It's a chance to maybe just reset a little bit for Sammy Silvera. He is still young and still got a lot of potential.
Yeah, look, this League One's probably a little bit below his level, I think. So I think he's going to have a standout year. Look at Milton Key Dons, come second in League Two and got automatic promotion. I think he's definitely going to start in this side, and I think he'll have a field day in League One. I think his talent is right for this level, probably too high. I think he's got a better ceiling than this. But again, he's got to play football and he's got to get his body right. And I think this is where he thinks he can get the most out of these game times. And look, good luck to him. I look, he's going to have probably a tough a year with obviously Milton Key just coming up, but you never know. Things can move quickly down the bottom end of those leagues, so you never know what might happen. But yeah, I think Sammy Silvera again, football's a priority because I definitely think he's above League One level.
So plenty of transfer activity to get through Mopper, but there has also been some on-field action as well. A lot of them friendlies, but some of the seasons have started as well. And obviously the Europa League and Europa Conference League qualifying rolls on as well. Let's start in Germany because Paul Ocon-Engsler started for FC Köln in a friendly versus Hertha Berlin. He got 45 minutes in this one, but positive signs for Paul Ocon-Engsler straight into the starting lineup, albeit with a trial match.
Yeah, that's it. Look, Bundesliga doesn't kick off till about the 29th of August. It's one of the later leagues to kick off with the La Liga. But again, Paul Ocon has settled right in. I said the midfield depth at that club is not as strong last week, so he'll get plenty of opportunity this year, Chief. And it's good to see him get his first minutes just to settle into this side and see what he can do in that engine room and holding midfield.
All right. In France, Patrick Beach also started for Troyes in their friendly win as well. I think they won 5-2 in the end in that one. But yeah, as I was saying before, it's these A-League players jumping straight into these top five leagues and really with the potential for both of these guys to start and make an impact straight away.
Yeah, get excited, Socceroos fans, because it's a good sign, isn't it? And yep, plenty more to come. Obviously with Patrick Beach with the friendlies, but good to see him straight in that starting lineup. He's ready to rock and roll.
All right. Also in Austria, we saw Jed Drew get on late in Hartberg's 1-0 loss to Salzburg in the opening game of the Austrian season. And what about Scotland, mate? Why don't you take us through that? Because there are just Aussies absolutely everywhere in Scotland this season.
Yes, well, we were asking last week whether the Australia would have Australian Kiwi front line, and well, we got what we well, we got it, didn't we? It was fantastic to see, and Dundee United took the lead through Lockie Rose with a good run into the box, and he just got a foot on it that went past the keeper. It wasn't clean, but hey, it was
They all
there,
count,
and
Mopper. They all
oh,
count.
he was stretching at best. But they did get pegged back to a 1-1 draw with Rangers. Cam Devlin on the other side made his Rangers debut in the Scottish Premier League. He played 82 minutes in his debut. And Dundee United also had Josh Rawlins, who played a full game. Rose played 70 minutes. Zach Sadson played 77. And Daniel Bennie got 20 minutes off the bench. Our young Kiwi friend Randall had a big opportunity, Chief, to win this game, but he scuffed it at the end.
Oh,
He tried.
did it?
That would have
Mate.
sent Rangers in a spiral, let me tell you, if he got that goal.
Especially after the way they started last season was so slow, they wouldn't have wanted to start with a loss. But as I was saying before, that front three, it's going to be tough for spots. And even Josh Rawlins, like from Daniel Benny's perspective, plays at right back. So awesome to see him jump in and start straight away too.
Yep, absolutely. We've got more Aussies in action too, Chief, and the goalkeeping production line continues. with Jacob Chapman, who moved to obviously St Mirren, and they had a 2-0 away win to Falkirk, who had a good year last year. But Jacob Chapman gets the spoils, a clean sheet, and a full game as they won 2-0. So a great start for St Mirren, who struggled last year at the bottom of the table. Start the season with 3 valuable points. And watch out to tonight, mate, because we've got Motherwell and a few more Socceroos and players that are striving for the Socceroos playing in Motherwell tonight. Plenty of players there, and should see plenty of action in game time.
Yeah, well, Motherwell playing Hibs tonight, so we're probably going to see about 6 Aussies in the
Yeah.
starting lineup and Kiwis, and yeah, it's awesome to see. All right, over to England. Jaylan Pearman scores the winner in QPR's 3-2 friendly win over Wimbledon. Nice little strike there. He hit one from outside the box, and he was the first to react just to drive it home. So another player with a big season coming up for Pearman. He didn't get a lot of game time in the full team last season. Got plenty in some of the youth teams and performed very, very well. But this could be his opportunity to push for some game time. Obviously, Keely Adamson still at QPR as well. So although Daniel Bennie is left, there's still a couple of Aussies to keep an eye on at the Rangers.
Yep, only left on loan, Chief. He's still part of QPR, and
Yes.
well, Pearman was one again in that same bracket of those under 20 stars that we spoke about with Herrington, and that group is unearthing itself. So, lot to see. Be interesting to see what Pearman does. I reckon a loan move it should be on for Pearman. If I was him, I would want to be playing football somewhere. So I don't. I would like to see him move and get loaned out. I don't want to see what happened with Benny last year, where it's just playing bits and pieces.
Oh, well, watch this space. We'll see if anything eventuates in this transfer window or maybe in January. Let's go into the north of Europe, Sweden, midweek. Daniela Galic, and she's in some absolutely amazing form at the moment. She scored the winner in Vitko GIK's 1-0 win over Malmo. Galic played 90 minutes while Courtney Nevin and Amy Sayer both started for Malmo but were replaced in the second half. Charlie Grant not in the matchday squad. Not sure if she's got an injury at the moment or she's just not been included, but haven't seen her in the Malmo matchday squad yet. Malmo also had a 0-0 draw over the weekend with Amy Sayer playing 90 minutes as well. In Slovenia, geez, this is a hard league to keep tabs on. You're not getting much information out of Slovenia, but unfortunately for us, midweek, Dukuli played in the Champions League qualifying, scoring a penalty in the shootout as his side progressed. The tie ended 5-5 with the 23-year-old coming on in the 67th minute. And then overnight, he got 31 minutes off the bench in his side's 1-1 draw in their league match. So we might need to send our investigative reporters out to Slovenia, mate, to get some information if we can.
Well, let's hope the qualification just keeps on going and they hit the big league, and then you'll definitely hear about it. It's, you will not miss if they make the Champions League, let me tell you. What about, and also just backtracking a bit, what about Daniela Galic? She is an absolute, she's going to be a star, Chief. I remember when she was in Twente, she scored that goal in the Champions League for Twente, and yeah, she's made a smart move going over there just to get some more game time. Capped 27 times junior level and 5 times for the Matildas, only 20 and from the Melbourne City production line. So watch this space. Should see some game time. Would be great to see her at next year's World Cup for the women.
Well, yeah, Matilda's got some games coming up too, so we'll see what Joe Montemurro does with that squad. But let's continue with the on-field action, mate, for now. Czech Republic, 7 minutes for Garan Quol in Sparta Prague's 3-1 win. We also saw in Denmark, their opening game of the season, Marcus Eunice playing a full game for Brøndby in their 1-1 draw away to AGF. I think we mentioned him last week, mate. Big season for him coming up, and see if he can continue his form that he had with Melbourne City on the back end of last season.
Yeah, definitely. He's was looking for game time. That's why he was loaned out, but straight into the starting lineup and had a great preseason. So plenty to see from him as this season has just started over there. We also had Europe Conference League qualifying. We seen the return of Marcus Tilio back to the lineup. He played 66 minutes. He grabbed an assist in a 6-2 win over Santa Coloma and an overall 9-3 aggregate win. So Tilio went a little bit missing last year, didn't he? And looks like he's back ready and raring to go and playing a part there. We also had Motherwell in Europe as well. They recorded the 3-0 win and a 5-0 aggregate win with Oscar Priestman, Jake Girdwood, Reich both playing 90 minutes, which is a very good sign. Priestman had a real breakout season that back half last year. There was also Martin Ball's side, Hibs, they had to overturn a 2-0 deficit, and they did that with ease. And Martin Ball scored and a goal and picked up an assist as they overturned a first league deficit, winning 4-1. So good to see a lot of Aussies starting through their qualification ranks. Obviously, still a little bit to go before they get to the main draw if they can win, obviously, their qualifying games coming up. And Chief, we had a all-star.
Remember the roller coaster of last season, mate?
Oh,
Sorry, do you remember the roller coaster of last season,
yeah,
mate, with Gibbs and
yes.
how many goals did they score late or concede late, and just mate.
I think they lost in extra time, didn't they? In the end, didn't they? And they missed out on
Yeah,
Europe.
that's right. They did too.
It was
Yeah.
an absolute shock. I think they were up at normal time, then it was a draw, and then they extra time they were up, and there was a draw, and they lost on pens or something. It was heartbreaking. So hopefully they've sorted that out this year. Although they did start 2-0 down in that leg, so yeah, they if they hadn't learned anything, they better pull their finger out because yeah, still not done and dusted yet. But
Just going back to Motherwell just quickly, I think it seems like Hearts have dropped off a fair bit this season based on some comments, and obviously they've lost Shanklin and Devlin, maybe some other influential players as well. And I wonder if Motherwell are going to push maybe Celtic and Rangers a bit. They seem like they've started pretty well this season. So yeah, I mean, sorry, did I say Hips? Celtic and Rangers. I wonder if they're going to push those two this season because they were a good team last season. They were pushing right up until the end, and they just had a dip. But a few of our Aussies in there. I'm not sure what Stamatolopoulos is doing. Whether he's back there at Motherwell, he hasn't been in squads, but whether he's going to be part of their plans or potentially sold or loaned out again. But Priestman and Gerb Reich, even Alex Paulson in goals, plenty of interest from this part of the world in Motherwell this season.
Oh, I think Scotland's again nearly up for grabs. That we've seen an absolute titanic battle last year, didn't we? With a lot of those clubs in that top half beating each other several times. It was very difficult for normally you see Scotland Rangers, put everyone else away and then it's a two-horse battle. But it wasn't that like that last year, and it cost coaches the jobs. Rangers and Celtic were all at sea, weren't they? Hearts had it in the bag, but obviously they blew it at the end. Well, probably blew it when they lost to get Livingston twice, didn't they? I think that's what cost them. Didn't beat Livingston. Everyone looks at the last game, but really those games against Livingston were the costly ones. But yeah, Motherwell was, like you said, was right up there. But again, when the season broke off and they had to play the top six, that's when they had their dip. And hopefully they've reinforced this year and really can push their claims. We're going to see if that's worked because I'll tell you what, Dundee United, who also had a good year last year, they've got off to an impressive start against Rangers as well. So we're going to see another good even contest, I believe.
Yep, should be good to follow during the season. Let's go to the US. They had the MLS All-Star game versus the Liga MX All-Stars during the week. Obviously, our guy Lucas Herrington started in the heart of defense, playing the first half where they were up 3-1 on the final score. The MLS All-Stars won 4-3 in the end, but another notch on the belt of Lucas Herrington as he continues his fine career. And then he was back in action for Colorado with a full game in a 1-0 win over Austin, keeping Colorado in touching distance with the playoff hunt. So wonder if that might be his last game for Colorado. Archie Goodwin got some time for Charlotte, Mappa.
Yeah, it didn't get too much time. They did lose 2-1 away to Chicago. They still maintain seventh spot. He's still getting a few little crumbs at the end, but not much. Unfortunately, couldn't impact. He just didn't get enough time to really consolidate there. But look, Charlotte's still in a strong position in that top 7 automatic playoff spot. So let's hope he gets some more time. He's got some stiff competition there. And we also seen Kyle Rolls over in the MLS play a full game. They got a good result, 2-2 against the leaders, Nashville, which is really good. And they're in a really good space with Kyle Rolls playing his part.
For Nashville, that Patrick Yazbek should be back around mid-August as well. So it'd be good to see him in contention for the upcoming Socceroos squads as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Top of the table, Nashville too. So yeah, they are going great guns. They did last year as well. They had a great year 2 years back. So look forward to seeing his return. In America, with the NWSL, we've seen Gotham FC go away from home to Bay FC. A win, seen them temporarily go top there, but other games kept them still in second. But Sam Kerr starting again, playing 78 minutes. They only just won this game, and unlucky for Bay Bay FC, they didn't draw. They got a goal disallowed. Quite controversial too. I still can't see how the goal should have been disallowed. But anyway, they found a foul like 2 minutes or offside 2 minutes before the actual goal itself. But yeah, got lucky Gotham, but they're still in second spot and they're chasing down first spot in that competition. Sam Kerr playing her part. Also in Canada, we've seen Tori Temeth. She captained Vancouver, but unfortunately they surrendered their lead in this one. They ended up going down 4-3. Tori playing the full game in Canada.
Sam Kerr was on the score sheet this morning for Gotham FC, so they beat Houston Dash 1-0. Nice little flick-on goal from Sam Kerr, and they are back on top of the table, having played a game more than a few of their rivals as well. So Sam Kerr continuing her goal-scoring form over in America. All right, over in China, we saw Nick Montgomery knock off Ross Aloisi in a 2-1 win for Beijing Guan over Zhejiang Professional, and John Aloisi's Chengdu Rongcheng draw with Wuhan, but still 16 points clear after their 5th draw in a row. Another loss for Shanghai Port, unfortunately, and only 4 points above relegation for Kevin Muscat's side. Ooh, we're in a bit of trouble. Muskie over in China trying to defend his title, but obviously pegged back with all the points deductions at the start of the season. Matilda's also announced a friendly mission week mopper coming up against Germany in October. Another big test for Joe Montemurro's side against one of the better nations in women's football.
I was very impressed by this selection, and I'm glad Football Australia got this over the line. We need to play the highest caliber countries that we possibly can leading into this Women's World Cup. So super excited. It is in Germany. Sorry, Matilda's fans, you will not be able to see it in Australia, but you'll be able to watch it on TV and watch the Matildas come up against Germany. What will be a very difficult contest for them. All right, mate, back home, Australia Cup time, round of 32. Do you want to talk us through these results from last week?
Well, I did say there was a potential of 2 cup sets, and you shut me down on one. So it proved to be. South Melbourne too strong for Adelaide United with a 2-1 win over the Reds, and then Sydney Olympic not good enough to overturn Brisbane Roar, who been out 3-0 winners. You spoke to me midweek, Mopper, about some of the recruitment that South Melbourne had done. You were pretty impressed with what they've done in the space.
Oh, they're going to be very hard to beat in this competition, and the draws opened up for them now. Yeah, I think they're on the only. I think they're on the side where there's only one A-League team, and I think that's Melbourne City, if I'm correct. But
Yep.
Right.
They
are. Yep. So they've got a great opportunity now. Geez, I was impressed by their football. I know Craig Goodwin put the Reds ahead, and they've got a massive clash coming up Adelaide, and would have probably used this game to prepare for it. But South Melbourne picking up players, they just recruit so good, don't they? And I think the players that they had on show obviously got a lot out of the OFC, that competition, and geez, they could be the real gangbusters for this national competition coming up as well at the end of the season, because Yeah, they know how to play, they know how to operate, and they know how to recruit, and they're a very passionate fan base there, as they always do. So watch out for South Melbourne, recruiting very smartly in the OFC and in Australia, as they usually do.
All right, so with those results, set up some fascinating round of 16 games. Let's go through them, Mopper. Kicking us off next Saturday, Western Sydney Wanderers taking on Melbourne Victory. That one should be an absolute cracker. Obviously, Wanderers looking to improve their season from last, and Melbourne Victory will be pretty strong, but depends where both teams are at this stage.
You know what I like about this one? They've put it at Marconi Stadium, so obviously there's been a bit of contention about some of the football grounds from the Winter Festival that we're obviously sharing because of all the codes that are on at the moment. And I like that they're taking out the Marconi. I think they'll get a great crowd out there, and just this is probably one of the pick of the ties, don't you think? Western Sydney and Melbourne. Western Sydney, a lot to prove after last season's poor season. The Melbourne Victory, obviously, with the new coach, new direction. Yeah, this game could be anything. What are you tipping in this one?
I think Victory will be too strong, but I was reasonably impressed. I know it's only a trial, but with the Wanderers, how they played they played Chelsea, didn't they? And
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was pretty impressed. I know they played kind of the team of youngsters against Chelsea, particularly in that first half, but guys like Cicluna, getting around the field, I was very impressed with him, and a couple of their new recruits as well. I think they're going to have a much better season, the Wanderers, and we'll see what they can do. But I just think Victory just might have a couple more players that'll get the job done in this one. What about you?
Yeah, no, picking Melbourne Victory. I think they're in for this tournament. I think they're going to be heavily favourites. I think the two Melbourne teams might meet in the final, but we'll watch it. We've seen many cup upsets, so I don't want to speak too early. But looking at the draw, I think it sets up nicely. But Melbourne Victory for me.
Yeah, okay. And then another all A-League clash, Brisbane Roar taking on Sydney FC. This one's going to be at Spencer Park on Sunday next weekend. So this is a rematch of the 2024 Australia Cup final. Who you got in this one, mate?
Uh, I like Brisbane Roar. I think
Yeah.
they've recruited well. I thought they lost a few, but they looked good the other night. They bit of first half wasn't overwhelming. But thought they come home well, and I think Sydney FC though, gee, they looked sharp, didn't they, with Quintal? Actually, I'm going to say sorry. I'm going to go back. I'm going to say Sydney.
That was quick.
Yeah, I just remembered Quintal's form and that, and the youngsters. So yeah, no, I'm going back to Sydney FC, mate. Sorry, Brisbane Roar. I
Yeah, I'm going.
just, yeah.
Yes, yeah, I'm going
You know
Sydney
what I
FC as
mean.
well.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. No, Quintal in some great form. Con missed their game against Spurs, but yeah, he's a absolute dynamite. Tell you what, he's been linked to a fair few places around the world as well.
Yeah,
Con,
well,
mainly
yeah.
the MLS. So,
America again.
geez, yeah.
Could up
So we
these
could be losing
fees.
another one. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, the fee was like 2 million or something, like
Oh,
crazy,
what
like
is it? Yeah.
17-year-old. But yeah, I think Sydney FC will have too much in this one. Yeah, apologies, Brisbane Roar fans. South Melbourne, Fremantle City. I think I'm going to be tipping South Melbourne in this one. What
Yeah.
about you?
Absolutely, mate. These players that they've
Oh,
got, sorry, I should have mentioned who they were. Jovic, they obviously got from Pacific FC. Retre, we know Retre joined from the Wellington Phoenix, so fancy getting an A-League player in your midfield. David Yu was also from the South Island United. They've got him. Ramazani was a new addition from Vanuatu. So obviously the OFC competition, they picked out a good few there. And Nkomo signed from Newcastle Jets. He was a junior there. And I just think these signings, Chief, they've put them on a absolute pedestal there, and they looked so good against Adelaide. So I reckon they'll go deep, very deep in this tournament, and watch out in the championship because I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
yeah, well, they're just doing everything they possibly can in all competitions that they can possibly compete in to do it to their best of their ability. So yeah, it's an impressive club, and who knows, we might see them in the top tier one of these days. The fourth match, which is going to be played midweek on Tuesday, the 11th of August, is the local derby, SD Raiders versus Macarthur FC. Second time in as many seasons that these two have come up against each other.
Yeah, MacArthur way too strong for the Raiders. Good to see another local derby. That's at Fairfield Showground, so that'll be pretty exciting for the crowd there.
All right, and then we had Lions FC, who of course knocked out Perth Glory. They'll be taking on Melbourne City. Probably expect Melbourne City to roll out a pretty young team, but pretty young and pretty talented as well.
Production line 101, Melbourne City to dominate that one.
Yep. This one should be really interesting. RP Leichhardt versus Sydney United, venue TBC, but that one's midweek next week. That'll be an amazing clash.
Yep, it's the battle of the heavyweights in New South Wales, isn't it? But I would just edge Arpio there, but Sydney United were damn good, weren't they, last round? You know, they made a statement beating Central Coast on the marathon penalties. But yeah, Arpia are a very tough opposition. They always go deep in this tournament, so Arpia just.
All right, next match, also midweek next week, Brunswick Juventus versus Preston Lions. Preston, very impressive, obviously taking out the Newcastle Jets last round. You'd think that they would have too much for Brunswick Juventus.
Yeah, quality side in Victoria. Definitely one of the top teams down there, and should beat Brunswick on their form, beating the Jets. And
then we have North Sunshine Eagles taking on Heidelberg United at Ironbark Fields. That one's on Wednesday as well.
Yep, Heidelberg they're not having the best of seasons in the NPL Victoria, but still competitive. But the Cup Kings should just get over the line there.
Interesting. They're using Ironbark Fields, former, well, probably current home of Western United in whatever formation they're in at the moment. So nice to see that ground getting some use. Obviously, Western still have some of the low-level teams playing there as well. But yeah, it should be an interesting clash. And as you said, Heidelberg not having the best season in NPL Victoria, but still got some quality players on their books. And you'd think that they'll probably have too much. But it was fascinating to see in the round of 32 so many upsets. And things may look straightforward on paper, but there's always going to be those upsets that come about.
Yep, absolutely, and it's providing plenty of excitement, isn't it? I look forward to the round of 16, and we've also obviously got Adelaide not too far away, just 9 days away from their crucial Asia Elite qualifier. So that's going to be another tough one for Adelaide. Hopefully they can pull a better result than what they did in the Hahn Cup.
What about looking at the bracket, some of the potential quarterfinal? We could see Preston taking on South Melbourne, two of the stronger teams, particularly in NPL Victoria, but all of the NPL competitions in that one. We could see Sydney FC taking on Macarthur in that quarterfinal. Macarthur recruited pretty well, and obviously Sydney have some talent as Cullen, and then we could see a derby of sorts with Western Sydney if they get through, taking on either Sydney United or Apia. So even looking ahead to the brackets working out, but you're right in terms of the right side as I look at it, with only Melbourne City as the A-League club on that side, whereas you've got 5 A-League clubs on the left-hand side.
Yeah, Melbourne City must be just absolutely going, thank you very much. But I'll tell you what, there's some on the right hand side. There's probably some of the toughest state league sides you've ever had. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? They've got their chance, haven't they? A couple of them, especially probably Preston and South Melbourne. I really like their chances to get into that semi-final. We could potentially see another state league team make the final looking at this draw, because there's going to be a couple of A-League sides knocked out on that left-hand side straight away going into the quarterfinals as they both face each other, Western Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, Sydney. So, yeah, this competition's up for grabs. And again, it'd be very interesting to see how it unfolds.
I think that with the rising standard of the NPL and potentially, some may say the drop of standard in the A-League, or certainly in the pay, in the remuneration, that's a bit of a leveling, and particularly in those NPLs obviously in season and the A-League clubs. I saw a very interesting point, might have been Adam Peacock, say that when the Jets were knocked out, it was something like 8 weeks since they won won the grand final. Oh, sorry, won knocked out of the competition, and it's going to be another 8 weeks or so until they play a competitive game again. So it's just the anomaly of such this long off season, and you really do, as much as you don't want to throw all your eggs in one basket, you do want a decent cup run, so you've got some competitive games leading right up to the season.
Yeah, it is. It's the perfect pre-season. Well,
Like,
I'm not taking away the Hahn Cup itself, but it is the perfect pre-season for these A-League clubs. These state league teams have got a great opportunity because they're fully fit and, probably at the end of their leagues, but they've been prepared in this season. So, yeah, great opportunity for both of them. But yeah, the A-League, that's a massive gap to, yeah, like we all said, that hopefully in the next 12 months that can be fixed. And when they sort out that bargaining agreement, hopefully there's some better operations for the A-League in the future.
yeah, let's hope so. Just looking ahead to the week, you obviously mentioned before in Scotland, Motherwell as Hibs tonight, so that should be fascinating. And then straight back into another round of Europa League qualification. So we've got Rangers in action with Cam Devlin, and then in the Conference League, Sion with Chipperfield, Motherwell again, Rapid Vienna with Tilly as well. So yeah, plenty of Aussies in the mix. Hajduk Split. I saw that Noah Skoko was on the bench, didn't get any game time for the other day when they got knocked out of they got bumped down. But Europa League into Europa Conference League. So yeah, plenty of Aussies still the potential to be playing in Europe next season. We'll be keeping an eye on that at the back end of the week.
Oh, there's heaps, isn't there? And yeah, it's some exciting times ahead, Chief. There's a lot of talent and a lot of Australian footballers out there going to some really good clubs. So I'm really excited about this. We're going to be covering a lot of players, so it's going to be really good. You've had a couple of obviously leagues kick off and a couple not too far away. So and yes, it's on and fingers crossed for me. I think in 9 days' time, I'm just hoping that Adelaide can make that elite Asian Champions Elite competition. I'd love to see 2 Australian clubs get in there. We need it for the coefficient points as well. It's going to be crucial. So hopefully Adelaide can do a job. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. But yeah, look forward to some sealing of some moves and some more new transfer moves. No doubt, there's a few Socceroos still on the market. So yeah, we'll watch this space and see where Paul Izzo lands or maybe lands in the future. Jackson Irvine, he's another one. So yeah, there's plenty of topic talk throughout the week.
What's your hot mate? On Herrington, you're in Kunda, anyone else? Anyone else we're going to be talking about this time next week that's got a deal done?
Yeah, it was interesting with Irukunda, wasn't it? Like hotted right up, looked like like something was going ahead, and then it just stopped. And then Watford shut it down. And yeah, not sure about where that Irukunda move is, but they could be just haggling for more money. That this is a standard practice over there, and we've still got 2 or 3 weeks to go before that Portugal starts. So yeah, that'd be interesting. Probably, I'm more intrigued what's going to happen with Jackson Irvine, where he sits when Connor Metcalf, 2 stalwarts of the Socceroos. I'm really intrigued whether they stay at St. Pauli or they push on because we're getting quite late, I believe, into the window. Not that obviously it doesn't close to the end of August, but to start of the season, you want to be somewhere around that mark. You don't want to be starting too late off because we spoke about the short time window we've got before the Asia Cup next year. I don't want them to see them on the back foot. So, otherwise you're fighting for places. You've got to understand the system and you know what I mean? I'm very intrigued with those two especially.
Especially to your point with the late transfer coming in, because it takes you time to acclimatise to your new club, and then we're heading straight into a bigger FIFA international title as well. So you might only come in for 1 or 2 weeks with your club, and might not even be. And then if it's in Kunda's case, you're away with the international team for 4 weeks and before you know it, you kind of back into November and you've barely played in the season. So definitely want to establish yourself this side of the FIFA international window if you can, and then get used to playing and get a few games under your belt. And
What do you think with Ferracunda? I know it went a little bit cold there this week after Watford, reported back there as well. Are you expecting that to be reignited? Because obviously, where do you see fit that Irukunda Does he push this move, or where is it at? Do you think it's just a money thing?
It could be because these things don't just disappear, and I think in Watford's case, they've only signed him recently. I think the hard King and Watford situation is the agreement that 50% of the deal goes to Bayern Munich, because they've got to think that they've got to push the deal higher, because they know, because they might be comfortable, got normal circumstances, selling him for 10 or 15 million, but they're probably going to want to push it higher, or as high as they possibly can, because they know they're losing so much of that fee. And of course, they can put in their own clauses, and maybe that's part of it as well. But yeah, potentially that's the case. But I think that's a big hindrance for Watford, unfortunately, is on that 5-year deal. He's only 1 year into it, so they should be able to negotiate with that as part of the agreement. But potentially that's what is holding up. I have to say, before these kind of rumours came about, I was pretty happy for him to have another season in the Championship at Watford and get more established. It's probably only with these kind of these bright lights of these moves that I think that he might be a bit better suited to those types of leagues. But I mean, I'd probably be okay with him staying to Watford for another season if he is going to play for them. And I would think that if they're going to block this deal, that he's definitely going to be part of their plans. With
Yeah, they had a real up and down season, didn't they, Watford? They were right in the playoff hunt there at the end, but then fell off the bandwagon last 10 games, and yeah, it'd be very interesting. You're right, Championship's still a good level, but yeah, Portugal offers just that little bit more, doesn't it? And Champions League football is
Yep.
that carrot. That's the big one, and he wants to go there. So yeah, watch this space.
Yeah, very exciting with him and a few others during the week. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll update things on our socials as they come to hand, and throw our opinions in there as well. That might do us for tonight, Mopper. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Exciting times in Australian football everywhere you look. We'll be back next week to break it all down. But in the meantime, enjoy football.
All the best, everyone.